We are getting ready to go live in just a second. Yeah.
I'm seeing TA members Natalie, David, Cindy, anyone else? Who am I missing that may be on?
I see Mike just joined as well.
Mike, okay.
Hey, Ray. Sorry.
Hey, Mike. Okay, good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll wait a moment, see. We've got some coming on a little late here.
Mr. Chair, I also see that Dr. Anderson has joined.
Okay. So give us a quorum. And there's Deb.
I believe that now makes your quorum.
Okay. And Mark is on.
Mark is on and Angela White is on for Amber Schultz.
Okay.
Hey, good
Okay,
morning.
with that said, I'd like to call the September 26, 2024 Kansas Post-Secondary Technical Education Authority meeting to order. This is a TEA meeting. It's regularly scheduled conference call meeting being held via Zoom. TEA members, board staff, or institutional staff who have comments or questions should ask to be recognized. Everyone other than the recognized speaker should keep their microphones muted. Each time you are recognized to speak, please state your name and your title before you begin so that you can be readily identified by listeners as well as observers. For each action item, I will state a motion and ask if someone will make that motion. For each motion made, I will then ask for a second. For each motion made and seconded, I will ask Robin to call roll to determine how each TEA member is voting and to announce the results of the vote. We will not do a roll call for approval of the minutes, and we do not need a motion, second, or vote for recess or adjournment unless a TEA member requests one. We will not have an opportunity for public comment during this meeting. We will not have an executive session during today's meeting. So I would ask if there are any changes or additions to the agenda.
One small change is Elaine Frisbee will be sharing the board goals instead of Kelly Oliver today.
Okay, thank you. Hearing none other, we'll move on to approval of the minutes. We have minutes from our regular TEA meeting, August 29, 2024, and then a special meeting, September 17, 2024. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from both of these sessions as presented?
I'll make that motion, Chair Frederick.
Okay, Mark, is there a second?
Second, this is Anderson.
Okay, thank you. Any comments, questions? Does anyone opposed? If not, minutes are approved from the August 29, 2024 and September 17, 2024. Do we have any introductions for this morning's meeting? Hearing none, we'll move on to Chair's report. I know we touched on this, I think our last TEA meeting on the 29th, yes, of August. But on August 29th at 4 p.m., Manhattan Tech had a ribbon cutting for its new Advanced Technology Center. And I would say congratulations to Jim, his team, certainly members of the community, and very strong business and industry partner support. So it was a great event and certainly a great accomplishment. So congratulations to Jim and his team. We may hear more about that this morning, but anyway, it was a great time there. And boy, the enthusiasm in the room was pretty amazing. And Jim he knows how to do things upright, and it was a great event. So congratulations, Jim. All right, are there any TA members who have a report that would like to report on their activities?
Chair Frederick, two things. One, as you all know, I'm teaching this semester, 8th grade in a CTE course, Career Exploration, and we are hoping to schedule time with Dean Smathers to visit Washburn Tech. That early exposure of possibility makes so much difference. There's also a piece of civic engagement, so they'll be meeting with legislators on October 30th. Excited about that. I am asking, and thank you so much for all of those that have responded regarding our students coming and speaking in either November or December and giving me those dates. So we look forward to either having a student representative from my class and then one from TCALC, just to talk about the career pathway and some challenges. A challenge did come up, if I can just briefly share that. I know this is about our activities, but I did mention that I would share this piece, which is loosely CTE related. It's for our teacher pathway. So technical schools and junior colleges in Kansas that have worked with KBOR for those 4 years and KSDE have been working to expand courses, right, in the teacher training pathway. So this is where the CTE comes in. We know about the teacher shortage, but the ability for students to earn college credit while in high school is limited because those teaching courses are not part of Excel and CTE. So those courses are not available for dual credit. They cost students. They don't accelerate the timeline for young people to earn credentials. And so they're choosing not to go into the teacher pathway because it's not an Excel CTE course. Just perhaps conversation when we think of the curriculum committee, thinking about those courses. All of the rest of our CTE courses are reimbursed and those kids get credit, college credit, to get a fast track into their pathway. But the teacher pathway course at our CTE site is not eligible for that. I'm just putting that as a plug for future conversation for the committee that deals with curriculum and the wisdom of Vice President White and others to help me learn in that space and just bringing the voice of kids to you. Most importantly, I know some of them are actually watching, so I want to make sure to bring their voice in this space. And I look forward to you all meeting them in November, December.
Well, we look forward to that as well. And that's going to be a very special moment to hear from the students. I mean, you can't get it any better than that. And you just never know what they're going to say either. So you got to be ready. So anyway, well, that'll be a really great event and time for us to hear directly from those that are in the classroom. So thank you for that report. So anyone else? All right, last chance. If not, we're going to move on. And I'll call on Vice President April White, provide us with a report on workforce development. So April, you're up.
Thank you, Chair Frederick and members of the authority. This past month has been a bit of a blur to me for personal reasons that I think most of you know. So I do want to officially thank you, Chair Frederick, and my team here at KBOR, including Vice President Frisbee, and those in the field who reached out to me to offer support after my father passed away. So it has been a bit of a bumpy ride this month. But as for our workforce development team, we had a couple of updates that we wanted to share. The Perkins team is currently reviewing the reserve grants. So we have set aside $500,000 in federal funds to do special projects for special population support. So far, I think as of yesterday, we have 8 applications. Later on this morning, Tobe is going to give you an update of all the projects that we funded last year. But we do want to make it widely known that that opportunity is out there for our colleges to take advantage of. We also have the State Innovative Tech Grant is currently available. This is a grant that does require a one-to-one match with business and industry. That deadline to apply for that is October 3rd. So if colleges are listening, October 3rd is your deadline for that. We also need to continue to remind people that the Adult Education Provider RFP is available right now. As a reminder, these are due by January 31st. After that date, we can accept any additional applications and no new adult ed providers will be able to join until 2030. So it is important that if you want to be an adult ed provider, you submit that application prior to the 31st. And the final thing is the workforce development team will be out most of next week. We do have our Kansas Workforce Conference on October 1st and 2nd. The day before that, we are hosting an accelerating opportunity training event the Monday before that conference starts. I would stand for any questions.
Okay, any questions, comments for April? Well, prayers continue. So, all right, we're going to hear from our community colleges next. I'll call on President Seth Carter of Colby to give us an update from the community colleges. Seth, are you on?
And
Yes.
Chair Frederick,
Oh, go ahead.
we are having a little trouble getting Seth on. So if Jim would like to go first, we would appreciate that.
Jim's always ready to go first. So, Jim, I guess you're up.
Thank you. I want to talk quickly about the document in the packet. It's what I shared with the regions, it does not reflect all of the members of our group, although a portion of it does related to, we are accredited just like the universities and community colleges are. I recently Lightcast, which a lot of us use, it used to be called the EMSI. But in the last couple of weeks, they came out with a report called The Rising Storm about the impending workforce shortage. And in my note in the packet, it talks about the number of key blue collar jobs that are heavily dominated by males in the workforce. And the fact that the boomer generation is retiring quickly, but it's still the second biggest part of the entire working conglomerate in America. And you're all aware of these things. I just bring them up as a reminder that the workforce side is pretty critical. We need people that can fix plumbing, as Ray knows. We need electricians. We need people that fix cars and air conditioners. So if you have questions on that information, please reach out to me. It does not reflect everybody in the group, and yet I think we all agree that the reminder about accreditation and things matters. I would like to instead right now highlight some things about our institutions, and I kind of picked something from each institution, but almost all of these things apply to all of us, but that way the report is shorter. So like for instance, at Washburn, Scott and his crew are doing amazing things, great enrollment growth. So they're having a meeting, more and more meetings with school districts about how they can interact more effectively, more efficiently, get more enrollment. And again, that workforce relationship. They have completed the second floor build out on their East Campus, or it should be done in December, because they need more and more classroom and lab space because of their enrollment boom and the way they are really serving workforce in the Topeka area. Of course, you know about the affiliation with Fort Hays State and with Goodland and with Beloit/Hayes. These initials get longer and longer with those two colleges. Eric mentioned today when we had a meeting that the Walmart store has provided a section up front in the store that's basically for Fort Hays swag, if you will, but it also has stuff related to the two-year colleges. So that community buy-in for the affiliation there is fantastic, and the reasons they have the affiliation. With Ben's group, I pulled from his group a student testimonial that I think reflects what we all have from our students. He's better at collecting the testimonials. But one of his students wrote this, and I quote, "After moving to Goodland with my wife, I didn't know what to do for myself. I decided to go back to school, and they're providing an education and drive for me to pursue a career in something I enjoy with the web and app development in their cloud and crypto computing program." And again, we all have those kind of people. Some of us close to a university, like with K-State, we get a lot of co-enrolled students who find out they're not ready for K-State. They work with us. So we all fill that bill, whether we're affiliated or not. There's a lot more collaboration going on than people think. Greg, of course, has a building going up, and he's doing something in his group that we're almost all doing as well toward the end of October with Trunk or Treat, and the chance to also help our employees, but neighbors in our communities with some stuff for the kids. I'm envious of Salina Tech and with Ben and Eric because they're all eligible to go after Dane G. Hansen Foundation funds in their areas. I'm outside that area. But again, the support you have provided, KBOR's provided, the legislator has provided with the base operating grant. Those things all help us go after more foundation dollars. So we're all using those things to create more stability, sustainability, and drive for our programs. Sherry, of course, she rocks and rocks and rocks and rolls, and we all work to follow her. And I mean that seriously in terms of she gives us ideas that many of us try to adapt and see what we can do in our areas. One of the coolest things at Wichita Tech recently is they were formally recognized as a Hispanic serving institution because they have 25% Hispanic student enrollment. So again, that reach into an underrepresented population, especially when you're talking about workforce and economic development. That kind of drive with her and her institution is fantastic. They also had a renovation and a grand reopening of their automotive center because again, some of the funds you've provided through the state and then through private industry partner she has with Walzer Automotive Group, WKI Kenworth, and now they have this new mobile equipment tech program. Again, we need cars and trucks that drive correctly and properly. And that education program is not just tools anymore, it's all relates to what does the data tell you for the diagnosis before you grab the wrench. Finally here, we had one heck of a party on the 29th. I had to laugh. My marketing guy said we might get 100, 150. We planned for about 300 and we were hitting 400. The bartenders ran out of beer twice. Manhattan Brewing Company actually put together Tech Town beer for us. But the ribbon cutting was great. We had a board that they cut for the ribbon. Incredible crowd, good celebration. For those of you that were here, our own crew did all of the food. We did not have that. They wanted to do it. They volunteered and it was like, okay, fine. And now we're going to open a culinary arts program, I think. The last thing I'll mention on us, my board has approved us. We're purchasing a mobile VR lab so that we can get more into that, both for recruiting and for instruction. And we should be having that lab at least partially up and running before the end of the spring semester. And with that, I again want to say thank you to all of you at KBOR staff, especially. They really help us, and as well as the regents. The last couple of years have been strong for us in terms of both enrollment growth and support. And I think you'd have to agree that we've used those funds in very effective ways on all of our campuses. And I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Any questions or comments for Jim? Well, again, congratulations on your efforts there in Manhattan, Jim. Well done. So appreciate it. All right, do we have Seth back or with us?
Yes, I'm on. I don't know if you guys can hear me okay. I'm driving right now, so President Connect is actually going to present ours. I apologize.
Well, you're kind of going in and out,
Can you hear me?
going in and out.
Sorry. President,
We lost you, Seth.
can you hear me?
Can now.
Sorry. President Connection. Sorry.
This is Amber, and Seth's trying to say that Seth has poor service, and so he texted me to see if I could give the report for him.
Sorry. President Connection. Sorry.
This is Amber, and Seth's trying to say that Seth has poor service, and so he texted me to see if I could give the report for him.
Sorry.
Whoever's got their live stream going, that's what we're hearing.
This is Amber, and Seth's trying to say that Seth has poor service, and so he texted me.
All right, what are we gonna do with this report? It's a little clumsy right now, quite frankly.
Well, quite frankly, I agree. This is Amber, and so I will be giving the report on behalf of Seth. So I'm just going to share. I had the honor and pleasure of giving the KBOR report last week, and so I'm just going to share that information here as part of that. So I apologize for the fumbling of this. So when I spoke at KBOR last week, I kind of began with information as the community college sector as a whole. And so kind of what I like to do at the college board meetings here is really try to begin it by highlighting our mission, guiding values, but most importantly, the role and importance we play in our communities. And so Seth has the individual community college report there for you. I'm not going to go by each college and read that for you. You guys can certainly read that. Some of the things that I shared at the full KBOR meeting last week on behalf of the community colleges and really the technical colleges as well is just sharing the impact that we have on higher education in Kansas as a broad paint stroke there. And so one of the things that I shared with the regents was that for AY23 data, the community and technical colleges, the percentage of the total head count of higher ed in Kansas was 51%. And so for AY23, we had a head count of 108,650. And the universities had 105,128. And so I think that just really speaks to the importance and role of community and technical colleges in Kansas. For the percentage of total FTE, The community and technical colleges make up 37%, so that's about 46,000 students. The universities are 76,000, almost 77,000. And so I really like to share that, and I think that's important even when we talk to legislators and others across the state, so that they understand just how big of a role our community and technical colleges are, and how important we are to the two-year sector is to higher education in Kansas. I also talked about some KBOR related business in some of the reporting that we did. We had to certify our AY24 data that was done on and had to be locked by September 6th. And so the presidents went through and certified that data. And so I gave a thank you to Cody, Katie, and any and all other KBOR staff that were involved in that process. In the training of it, the vetting of the data and the guidance through the process. It's a pretty laborious process, and going through that data, you all know how important it is that we, as presidents, understand the data that we're certifying and really working with KBOR staff to go through and troubleshoot and make sure that the data that we're reporting is absolutely accurate. And so just want to thank all of the KBOR staff, because we really do rely on them heavily. And so they've also created a nice spreadsheet where when they go through our data and they have some flags of questions, they put those comments in there, and then we're able to go back and put our follow-up comments to them. And so just really impressed with that process and how it's evolved just in the last 5 years. And so I wanted to thank KBOR staff for that. We've had some grants due recently. The Perkins Reserve Special Populations Grant was due September 23rd. The KBOR Innovative Technology Grant is due October 3rd. And then, of course, we have the Adult Ed RFP. That's a multi-year grant competition. That one is due January 31st, which is also a really huge project for our schools. Just looking at the sector as a whole, we just had census data, so I'm anxious to see the data come back out from KBOR on our community college and then just higher ed sector as a whole, to see where we ended up. Looking generally across the community colleges, our enrollment did increase for fall 2024. And one thing that you'll see as a common thread through those reports, I'm just kind of summarizing each individual college, was that really, and this goes for tech colleges too, is we have a very enhanced relationship with our business and industry, and as well as each other and partnering. And those relationships have really allowed us to respond to the workforce demands by building, updating facilities, equipment, and making sure that our students are prepared to be successful, whether they transfer or go directly into the workforce. And the following programs across the community colleges, and I'm sure this translates over to the tech colleges as well, that are currently at capacity, are a lot of the nursing and allied health programs, radiology, PT assistant, surge tech, welding, cosmetology, criminal justice, automotive technology, electrical power and technology, HVAC, CDL, diesel technology, John Deere technology, carpentry, and even cybersecurity. And so I really feel like this is a great thing. The growth demonstrates the contribution of both community and technical colleges to building and retaining a talent pipeline in Kansas. And it also illustrates why those business and industry funds and some things that we've been able to receive have really helped us and are critical in responding to those workforce demands. We are absolutely enthusiastic and encouraged by these trends, and I'm really hoping that they will translate to an increase in the college going rate, because I know that is one of the metrics for KBOR's strategic plan in both the family and business pillar, but also the number of credentials earned. I'm hoping that the increase in those programs being at capacity will really translate into an increase in the number of credentials earned. And so very encouraged by what we're seeing. I think these numbers are kind of returning us to what those numbers were pre-COVID. And so hopefully we continue to build off there. But I think overall, I'm really proud of the work of the two-year sector, and honored to be able to give the report today. And sorry, it was fumbled a little bit, but would be happy to entertain any questions at this time.
Thank you, Amber, for stepping in and stepping up for Seth. What questions or comments from TA members? Well, I would just say it's a great reminder to shine the light on how important our two-year sector is, not only for our communities, but business and industry and for our state. And most importantly, the lives of these students, the path that many of them step on and begin to travel together. It's just, exciting to see how lives can become changed. And, again, the light bulb goes on, the passion comes to the surface. And because of the work and of our 2-year sector. So Amber, thank you. Thank you for the good work you do there. So
Thank you very much.
you're welcome. Okay, we're going to move on to our discussion agenda and like to call on Associate Director Crystal Roberts. She's going to discuss the program alignment verification process. So Crystal, I stumbled into your report, so go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Frederick, and good morning, everyone. So for program alignment, I have for your review and discussion the proposed institution program alignment verification project. To meet the legislative charge designated to the Post-Secondary Technical Education Authority, one of the TEA's foundational strategic priorities has been to enhance technical education in Kansas through the alignment of specific technical programs to ensure the needs of business and industry are consistently met. The program alignment model has 4 primary objectives. First, provide direct business and industry input regarding required and preferred technical skills needed, as well as program exit points, matching employment opportunities for graduates. Second, to identify nationally recognized third-party industry recognized certifications. Also to identify common and support courses within the program. And finally, to decrease the variability in program length. Over the past year, our workforce development staff have identified several instances in which programs at the individual institutions were not in compliance with all aspects of the approved program alignment. While staff has been working to address these issues with the colleges individually, it has been discovered that a number of the institution's programs that are out of alignment would require an extensive system-wide correction. So some examples of that non-compliance with approved alignments have included, but are not limited to, situations where program naming conventions and KEDS, college catalog and degree map, institution website, and marketing materials are not always consistent, courses that are being utilized and considered aligned, and then whether the industry recognized certifications are recommended or required. So during these individual discussions with the institutions regarding the issues with program alignment, staff have identified previous procedural interpretations that were not well documented or applied consistently system-wide. As a result of these discussions, staff recommend the following strategies to ensure technical program compliance with all aspects of the approved program alignments during the next year. First, we would implement an institution program alignment verification. With that, all aligned technical programs and KEDS will be reviewed by the colleges for compliance with the current program alignment requirements. That verification would open on October 1st. Keeping in mind that for a program to be compliant with alignment requirements, the program structure, courses, and naming conventions must be consistent in the following areas. First, the institution program inventory section in our KEDS system. Second, college catalog and degree maps, their institution website, and then any additional public-facing program information. And with that, presidents and academic vice presidents will be provided guidance documentation, webinar training, and a program alignment verification spreadsheet that lists the aligned technical programs offered within their institution. Institutions would indicate via that KEDS institution program inventory section and on the provided spreadsheet the individual aligned technical programs they offer that meet alignment and those which do not meet alignment. That verification will close on March 1st, 2025. Our second strategy would be a review by workforce development staff. Staff will review each program in KEDS as well as the current parameters regarding program alignment and make recommendations if necessary. When the institution program inventory is aligned, our workforce development staff will manually update a new alignment data field in KEDS for each program and award level. Third would be an annual program realignment submission. So moving forward after this initial verification process, Institutions would be required to have all program alignments for the current academic year completed in KEDS by July 1st annually. So this would be completed before the annual academic year data collection. The fourth strategy would be an annual program alignment presidential acknowledgement letter. This letter would be submitted on August 1st annually with a listing of all aligned technical programs the institution offers which have been marked as not meeting program alignment for the academic year. This letter acknowledges that the institution has chosen to not meet alignment for these specific programs. And then finally, results of the verification process would be provided to the TEA in September of 2025. The proposed institution program alignment verification project was developed by board staff and is brought forth by discussion to the Technical Education Authority. So with that, I would stand for any questions.
Okay, any questions or comments in response to this report on alignment on the process?
This is Dave Rice. Just a quick question. Is this new, or is there a process that's been in place? And if there's one that's been in place, is this how is this different?
So we do, I mean, our normal process is that when a new realignment goes into effect, that information would be added into the KED system. And so with that, also with new programs, if they come through, or any program updates, Director Sharman Chambers and I would look at that and would approve those from there, or suggest any additions or edits that would need to be made. So we do these program checks on a smaller basis, but not system-wide like this, just because it's so intensive for staff to go through every program alignment at every institution. So this is just kind of a reboot, if you will, to get everybody, kind of retrained on the same page and provide a good level of consistency that we feel has maybe been kind of missed between, staffing changes and just over the years, staffing changes both at KBOR and in the field.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Absolutely.
Just a couple of short comments for a little additional context. Aligned programs actually account for only 25 programs system-wide currently out of all of the programs that our institutions provide, based on the needs to realign current alignments, as well as working on articulations from our K-12 partners to post-secondary. It's not likely we'll probably be able to even add any new alignments this next year. So we're talking about 25 programs total. I would also just add that in every alignment process for every program, institutions offering the program are always invited to participate as creating the actual alignment that they all will agree to. And in every alignment, there is always institutional flexibility opportunity in every single program for them to offer coursework that's necessary for their local B&I needs and to meet those needs.
So there is some flexibility into the process.
Absolutely. So some examples of that would be the total number of credit hours for Cert A is capped at 29 credit hours. And so there's a range of 16 to 29 credit hours. So for example, for a Cert A in automotive technology, there are only 12 credit hours that would have to be aligned with a max of 26 credit hours. So yes, there's a big window of flexibility there. Or 16 credit hours in HVAC for the Cert A, or 10 credit hours in the machining and manufacturing tech Cert A. So there, and that goes on with each additional certification level, moving upwards to the associates.
So do we hear from institutions, I mean, do they object to the concept of alignment?
I wouldn't say object. Sometimes with local business and industry need, they may need a little bit of wiggle room with some of that. And so we do work with the institutions individually. Some things are maybe just small oversights where, let's say, KEDS was updated, but maybe their website didn't get updated. So on the college side, they have multiple people doing this work. And so sometimes I think not all of the dots get connected. And so this is a good way to make sure those dots are getting connected.
Okay, so they're not really objecting to the concept of alignment. It's just some of the stuff behind the curtain, the work part. that
Exactly.
Sometimes lags behind. Why would an institution choose not to align a program?
Sometimes it may be that their local business and industry maybe wants their Cert A, or there's not a Cert A offered, and they want them in and out the door really quickly. And so maybe they can't offer all that's needed for that particular business by following the alignment. Sometimes it may be that they offer similar programs. And so to make a distinguishing title, they don't want to use our program aligned title. And so we have worked with institutions on situations like that as well. A lot of, since we do use the labor market information, and we use the SIP codes and SOC codes, and we really try to stay very close to what those code titles are. Sometimes those aren't pretty or fancy names. And sometimes, maybe an institution wants to stand out a little bit and add an additional word to their name. But when you look at the guidelines for program alignment, it has to be the exact name verbatim. And what we put on the map for the common course names has to be verbatim. And so that's where we do sometimes run into some questions or concerns from the colleges that we try to work around. But we do really need these titles to be consistent so that a student that comes from, Western Kansas can go to the eastern half of the state and transfer their credits easily if they needed to. And it just provides that consistency.
Hey, Ray, this is Mike. We had a very robust discussion about this during the curriculum meeting. Unfortunately, we didn't have a quorum to make action or do any action on this. So that's why it's on the discussion agenda. But with that, I would make the motion to approve the program alignment verification project.
And
Okay.
I would second.
Is that Cindy?
Yes, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments related to the motion in the presentation?
Ray, this is Deb. I do have a question, and I was sorry that I didn't get to the curriculum meeting. Is there a consequence related to the state funding for programs that are not aligned?
Well, currently, what we have in policy, and these are some things that we're reviewing with legal, is that the Perkins funding, it has to be an aligned program for Perkins funding if an alignment exists. So with that, I think I would let Director Chambers speak to that a little bit more, since she knows a little behind the scenes on how some of this works in a little more detail than I do.
I would be happy to answer any other questions, but Crystal has really covered it. Right now, the current Perkins funding eligibility does require a program to be aligned if the alignment exists. Other than that, Member Mikulka, to your specific question, there is no other funding currently tied to meeting alignment.
And are these programs the are most needed? Are they the high demand? Are they high wage? And are they all included in the 25, the ones that we need most?
The current 25 programs account for a very large segment of high demand, high wage occupations in the state. So we're talking a lot of healthcare, registered nursing, practical nursing, auto tech, electrical, HVAC, welding. So these are some of those occupations that, for at least the last decade since I've been looking at it, have historically always been 100% high demand. And if they slide a little bit wage wise, they're almost always high wage as well. And they are also, this is also reflective of programs that are offered the most ubiquitously across the state. So we have we don't typically align a program where there's maybe only two or maybe up to a handful of institutions that are offering the program. It's targeted towards those programs that are offered system-wide a lot more across the state.
Okay, thank you. That's all, Ray, that I have.
Okay, anyone else?
This is Dave Rice, and I've been retired 5 years, but I was around when alignment started, and our institution viewed it as a good thing.
I appreciate that. Okay, we do have a motion and a motion by Mike and a second by Cindy to approve. Does anyone oppose the motion? If not, I would say the motion is carried. Okay, we're going to move on and to other matters, and we'll turn our attention to the Board of Regents goals, AY 25, and thank you to Vice President Elaine Frisbee for stepping in and on behalf of Kelly Oliver. So, Elaine, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everyone. First, I do want to acknowledge the remarks from President Connection from Cloud Community College, her gratitude toward our data team. The information that feeds a lot of what you do and make decisions on is based on the data that the staff have to generate for us at the campus level, and then our data team has to work together on. So a lot goes into that effort. So thank you for those remarks. So as Kelly Oliver needed to go to Dodge City Community College, Dodge City today to go visit with the admissions officers and registrars, I'm here to pitch in just to talk a little bit about the board's goals for the coming year. As we have up on the screen for you and in your agenda materials, there's some background, just a refresher or a reminder on the board's strategic plan, Building a Future, which has 3 pillars. And it focuses on the family pillar, which is working on student affordability, student access, and student success. So that very foundational pillar of our students, our customers that we serve at the campuses. But of course, we also, and your work is very much focused on what are we doing to serve the businesses in our state in terms of a talent pipeline. And what might we do to generate some innovation? Some of the research that is done at the universities in particular supports that part of the business pillar. And then just our overall state's prosperity and our economic development activities and what the system is doing in support of our community and our state. So that's in that context then. On the next page of the agenda, you'll see the board's goals for the coming year. They have identified 7 things that they're going to focus on as an entire board. Now, I would also just point out, much as you have your curriculum and program committee and your budget and finance committee, the Board of Regents, of course, has the BASC committee, the Academic Affairs Standing Committee, as well as the Fiscal Affairs Standing Committee. And so each of those committees has their own unique goals and things that they're focusing in on. But for the board as a whole, they are, goal number 1 is to look about considering how can we expand access, replicating our success with Excel and CTE. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago. How could more high school students get access to some credit hours at the college level while they're still in high school? How can we continue and the momentum we've got going with our system-wide transfer of associate degrees? That's a lot of work for our academic affairs folks and faculty at all of the campuses, but so important for our students to not lose momentum when they do transfer from a 2-year school to a 4-year university. Also for in support of our students and our student success, continuing to implement the student success playbooks. A few years ago, the board engaged the National Institute of Student Success from Georgia State to think about how are we impeding students' progress toward degree. And so as the universities and the colleges implement the recommendations from the NIST review, trying to sort out how we can keep that going. Also focusing on how can we deploy more open educational resource options for students. That is a student affordability issue, of course. If they don't have to go out and buy an expensive textbook or rent an expensive textbook, and they can find free materials for the class, we want to expand those opportunities. Of course, we have our Canvas, Apply Canvas initiative going. We have our 3 free days coming up in early October. So any Kansas high school student who wishes to apply, or anyone who wishes to apply to one of our institutions, will have 3 free days. This also applies to our private independent schools as well. The FAFSA completion, how are we going to improve our rates of high school students and other students completing their FAFSA application? That has been a real challenge this last year. The U.S. Department of Education rolled out a new form, and it didn't go so well. And so we're hoping for a slight improvement in the coming year. We will just put it that way. And what can we also do, of course, in launching the blueprint for literacy? So the talent pipeline, and what are we doing with our K-12 partners and making sure that our teachers, that our system trains, are properly teaching our students when they get in service and how to read. And then looking at finding a way to address the ongoing concern that we are not adequately documenting what institutions are doing with alternative credentials, so micro-credentials and badges and all those more recent innovations in that area. So we're trying to work with the universities this coming year and figuring out on the data side, how can we start thinking about documenting those things that our institutions are doing. So for a start, we're going to work with the universities, and then I'm sure that'll be more widely discussed with the 2-year colleges. We also, the board, in a big piece of their budget request is funding for a research initiative. State investment in our university's research function has been lagging compared to some of our competing states. And we see where faculty are being recruited away to other states with opportunities for better research support, better labs, better facilities, better salaries. So want to look at how we could get some state investment to keep that innovation going in our state. And then lastly, number 7, we've got some things to do in cybersecurity and information technology and risk management. And one of the board's bedrock goals, of course, is to govern the 6 state universities. And so at their September board meeting, they did approve new governance policy that will apply to all 6 state universities in terms of what they need to do in managing IT and their cybersecurity risks at their campuses. And they'll be reporting more routinely to the board's governance committee about what they're doing. And we're doing more collaboration across the system of the public universities. So that includes Washburn University, to make sure we're doing everything that we can to protect our data assets, student and employee personal information, and whatever other classified information some of our universities have in their possession and in their research work, and making sure that we're doing everything we can to mitigate our cybersecurity risks. So I'd be happy to answer any questions if I can about the board's goals for the coming year.
Thank you, Elaine. Any questions or comments in response to her report and the goals of our Board of Regents? Well, it's a heavy lift, but you know, I think certainly all of these pillars are important to, you know, our community and our institutions as well. So,
Ray, this is Deb Mikulka. Can I ask Elaine a question?
Of course.
Elaine, what on under Pillar 1, what's the review of activities at the community and technical colleges?
That relates to the student success funding that was provided by the legislature this year. And so I think and this will probably be the board's BASC committee, just learning more about how the two-year colleges, the community and tech colleges are leveraging that funding for their students.
Okay, good. And then on the Pillar 3 prosperity, so then will they be asking for funding to develop that system-wide research initiative?
Yes, and so in the board's request for unified appropriation, there is a $51 million request for the 3 research universities, KU, K-State, and Wichita State. And it is all focused on what each of them could offer in terms of health care. So for example, healthcare. So the healthcare industry, it will be focused on research in healthcare.
Okay. Will there either in the future or will this be integrated that you include the 2-year and the technical colleges who train so many healthcare providers, and that's part of the continuum that I think needs to be included in that research? Will that be part of it, or will that be a future goal that there would be funding for research of those initiatives as well?
Well, this is focused on innovation and research. So generally speaking, there's not as much research activity at the other institutions, but there is some, certainly. And as far as training and delivering instruction in the healthcare field and training more talent pipeline, yes, absolutely. There is, we do all sorts of things in everything that we do with financial aid and the funding that we have for the 2-year schools and the universities, and what we focus in on for creating more healthcare workers. And I think maybe your next speaker is even going to speak to that a little bit.
I just know there's a great need.
Oh, yeah.
Certainly if it's happening, if it's a need at the universities, I would assume there is a great need for further research and understanding of what's working and what's successful, and then how does that apply all along that continuum of training.
Absolutely.
That's all. Thank you.
Yeah, anyone else? Questions or comments? All right, thank you, Elaine. Appreciate you stepping in and filling in this morning.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on. Segue into Darren Caffrey, Director of Workforce and Healthcare Policy for the Kansas Hospital Association. Going to give us information on the 2025 Virtual Healthcare Days. So, Darren, you're on.
I am on. Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, everyone. It's great to be with you again. Some of you may recall I was at one of your meetings a few months ago, and we were recapping our February event that we did for our 2024 Virtual Healthcare Career Day. And so I'm back again and appreciate the invitation to be back as KHA and the Board of Regents and the Department of Education, as we are all part of the hosts and planning groups for planning next year's Virtual Healthcare Career Day. It's going to be held on January 30th of 2025. And we are really excited. We just finalized who the career profile organizations are going to be. And so we, again, for a brief refresher, and I think we have information in your packet there, but we have 8 different careers that we profile each year during this event. The whole idea through these 20-minute segments is to give a pre-recorded video of what is a day in the life of each of these professions. And then we go to a live Q&A for students of all ages. We have attendees from middle school, high school, post-secondary, but also adult learners who might want to be second careerists or are interested in changing into the healthcare profession. They can ask live questions with whoever the health professionals are from each of these occupations to get an idea of what is the pathway to get into something like maybe occupational therapy, or what are some of the great things about the job, what are maybe some of the not so great things. But really the whole idea is to share to attendees across the state that there are a wide variety of opportunities in healthcare, especially beyond doctors and nurses. And I always like to reiterate, we still absolutely need doctors and nurses, but those professions might not be for everyone. We have such a breadth of knowledge and programs that go into everything that's in a hospital. They really are miniature cities. And so that's why for this event in 2025, the 8 careers that we'll be profiling and the hospitals that'll be profiling them will have critical care nursing or ICU nursing, and that'll be profiled by Advent Health in the Kansas City metro area. We will then have Rice Community Healthcare there in the Lyons and Sterling area, more in the south central part of the state. That'll be profiling family practice medicine. So we'll show physicians that work in rural healthcare, the values of that. We will be profiling pharmacy this year, and we have a great group from Community Healthcare System in Onega, more in the northeast Kansas, near Manhattan area. We have Rooks County Health Center that'll be profiling occupational therapy. And a really nice thing with that is we'll have occupational therapists, which is a doctoral program, and occupational therapy assistants, which is a program that you do not have to get a graduate degree in. So we want to show the stair-stepping available there. And similarly with pharmacy, both pharmacy technician roles that are a great career. But again, if you want to have a pathway up to being a pharmacist, we'll illustrate that in that session. Down in Newton, we'll have NMC Health that is profiling facilities management. So again, our hospitals as miniature cities, they need, maintenance. We need, biotech folks. We need, a whole slew of folks to keep the building and operations running. And so that's one of our non-clinical careers that we'll profile. The other non-clinical career is a unique one this year that we're really excited about, of health IT and cybersecurity. So I'm sure you all are hearing about some of the cyber attacks that are on healthcare facilities. So this is really an increasingly important role every hospital needs to have. And so the University of Kansas Health System is going to be profiling health IT and cybersecurity. And then we'll have Clay County Medical Center that is going to be sharing and providing the day in the life for behavioral health. We did do behavioral health as a profession that we profiled last year in our 2024 event. And that was by far probably the most engaged session that we had students that were interested in, both because they're passionate about mental health, but also as a career, they're interested in what does that look like. And so we will be doing that profile again. And then our last one we'll have from Hayes, we'll have Hayes Med sharing with respiratory therapy. And again, we've done respiratory therapy now 2 times. But respiratory therapy, we know from the Department of Labor, it's the fastest growing occupation in healthcare. And so we believe that that is important to showcase that to students so they know that that is a great rewarding career opportunity that we certainly need more students in Kansas to pursue. So that is, again, the structure of the event. We have a great blend of hospitals from across the state. As a reminder, we had 3,000 students participate last year. We're hoping and we expect that we'll be on track to surpass that again this upcoming year. And again, it's a great opportunity for colleges to get involved. So not only do we encourage colleges to share this with students, you'll see there in your packet, we had students and staff from 12 different KBOR institutions participate. Over 2/3 of those were from tech and community colleges. That was about 350 students. We hope to have more of that this year on January 30th. But as a reminder, we do have sponsorships available. I'm putting this in the chat, and you can look at this on our website as well. So if anyone's on the call today, you want to click on that. You'll see more in detail about what some of those sponsorships include. But again, we had last year Barton Community College and Kansas City, Kansas Community College sponsor. And what you get with the sponsorship is a 1-minute video that we have in between some of our segments. Last year, both of these schools used that to showcase their healthcare programs, why it's exciting to pursue their students' healthcare education at their respective institutions. And we would certainly welcome Barton and KCC back. But if there are other colleges out there as well, we want to give you an opportunity to be able to share information about your programs to all of the folks that are in attendance again on January 30th. So it's a great way to reach students that are healthcare interested. Again, more information on that link and on our website. And of course, you have my contact information, and always happy to talk offline, share more information about what that looks like, or any advice or insights that we've learned from these last couple of years. We really appreciate the partnership with KBOR and the tech and community colleges in particular on both having students participate in this event, to learn more about the wide variety of professions in healthcare, but certainly also those colleges that are sponsors, because we want to provide a good, valuable experience to you for getting some bang for your buck. But it's also great for students to know that there are programs in the state of Kansas that they can get their education in, have a great education, and then have a great career then for a hospital and a clinic in long-term care, wherever it is in healthcare. So we'd be happy to stand for questions. Really appreciate, again, the opportunity to do this. And again, reach out to me at any time if you have questions offline or if anyone wants to learn more. But happy to stand for questions if anyone has any, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, questions, comments of Jared? One thing I was curious, okay, I mean, it sounds wonderful. What a great opportunity for students to get a look at these occupations and especially the wide variety that you're offering. I appreciate that because often, especially those that keep the building going, they get overlooked. People forget. They just, assume everything's just fine.
Well, and people think that it's all about the blood and everything else, but there's a lot of folks that don't work with blood that we need to be in the hospital.
My question is, okay, after student, for example, has participated in this, what happens next for that student?
Yeah, great question. And so we have our 8 segments, and the last segment right before we wrap up at noon, that we call it our next steps segment. And so the past couple of years during that segment, we've had folks from the Board of Regents, from the Department of Education, from HOSA, for those students that might be in high school, to share some of those opportunities. And we've gotten great feedback from especially educators. So this upcoming year, we're going to change things slightly. And so we're going to have career advising personnel from a college. We're going to have some faculty from colleges and some other folks more on the high school based side to share for those students that are in high school. Hey, here are maybe some courses that you could or should take to set you up well for going into one of these healthcare programs. To again show, here are some of the other things, maybe extracurricular that you might want to consider to do in between now and when you're applying or going into a training program. But then also, here's employment opportunities. Here's apprenticeships that you might get into or want to pursue if that's more of what might suit you and your interests. Or if you just want to get directly into a job, there are pathways into working at a hospital, and you can be trained on the job, kind of like an apprenticeship, even if it's not registered apprenticeship. And so we really want to take that to the next level to share more direct next steps instead of it being a little abstract, which is maybe what we've done in the last couple of years, to give more of a tangible, hey, here's what you can do. And I will share, we do have our new happyandhealthcare.org, which is kind of a one-stop shop. We have scholarship and financial aid information. We have a map of the colleges and those programs. So also plugging that in there too, so students can take a look and take our career quiz and what they might be interested in. So that's kind of what we're doing to revamp that final segment for our 2025 event, to hopefully make it a little bit more hands-on and taking that and running with it.
Well, I think that next step is so critical. We get all, students or individuals get all excited about what they hear and see in this virtual healthcare day, but then, okay, now what? And some would say, so what? So it becomes very important, I think, as you continue, and I'm glad to hear you have a plan in place and working on a plan to follow up and answer those questions and in their excitement. So also, congratulations on your soft sale for sponsors. Keep it up. So
we had to put it in there. We had to
well done. You didn't miss an opportunity. Good for you. So anyone else? Questions, comments? All right. Thank you, Jared. Appreciate it. Okay, we're going to move on. Next is Associate Director Tobias Wood. Provide us the methods of administration update. So Tob, you're up.
Well, good morning, Chair Frederick and members of the authority. I'm going to mention that Jaron Caffrey's presentation was great. I have family members who made careers out of the healthcare field. I have an uncle who did HVAC for his entire career at a hospital. My mother is a retired nurse, and two of my sisters are in the healthcare field. So very, very big field and very much needed. And I really appreciated that. So thank you, Jaren, for that. Another little plug for you. Please do not feel bad if the title Methods of Administration, or MOA, is a little confusing. I know it seems like it might be kind of dry, but I think it's one of the most exciting things that I do here at the Kansas Board of Regents. As the issue paper states, the term comes from Vocational Career and Technical Education Guidelines, where it says that states must develop and maintain methods of administration and related procedures as we carry out civil rights obligations under the guidelines. That's a mouthful. So if an institution receives federal financial funds and delivers career technical education, or CTE, they are monitored by the states for the Office of Civil Rights, or OCR. OCR is a division of the U.S. Department of Education. I might reiterate that we are not a part of the Office of Civil Rights. However, we do perform these tasks for the Office of Civil Rights. We perform the monitoring for them. The purpose of these reviews are to assure compliance with federal civil rights laws, assure administrative accessibility to career technical education, and assure physical accessibility on campuses. To fulfill this requirement, we have a Kansas MOA plan, which is detailed in the issue paper, and that was filed with OCR in 2020, and you can read more about that specific document in the issue paper. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. The Kansas MOA plan outlines the related procedures for Kansas MOA activities. So these activities include how desk audits are performed, what data are used for performing those desk audits, how an institution is selected for an on-site review, and then the process for the actual review of on-site review and the follow-up after the review. The Kansas MOA plan and other documents that are related, they are publicly available on the KBOR website under the Workforce Development tab under the Perkins subheading. There's a program, or a page called MOA Program. So the purposes of the MOA review are to identify disproportionate enrollment. This could manifest itself as an underrepresentation of a protected group or an overrepresentation of a protected group. For example, an underrepresentation might be a group of individuals that look a certain way are maybe barred from a certain program because of whatever status. An example of overrepresentation would be a lot more students that look a certain way or are of a certain protected group are funneled into a particular program so that it's overrepresented in a program compared to the campus as a whole. So we look for both sides of that during our desk audits. We also identify areas of possible discrimination in administrative areas, and these areas include recruiting or admissions or any discrimination in financial aid or administration, basic administration areas. There's also a review of the physical accessibility of the campus, and that's where a team and I go out with members of the on-site coordinator team, and we measure things, we look at things, we apply the different ADA standards to those things to see if the institution's campus is in compliance. We also identify any perceived violations. We create a plan to address those violations. And then finally, we provide technical assistance throughout the process. If an institution has questions about what were the details that wheelchair ramp had to be, or where can I go to find information about this specific administrative detail? So I provide that technical assistance as well. KSDE has their own secondary MOA coordinator, and that person performs these functions for the secondary CTE providers, for the consortia, for the USDs that are in the state. So I have a choose your own adventure activity similar to what we did last February. I would invite you to either get your phones or get a tablet or a computer and open up a web browser. And I would like you to go to the web page of your favorite Kansas community college or technical college of your choice. So what we're going to look for, I'll give you a little bit of time to do that if you're going to do that. What you're going to look for is something called a non-discrimination notice, or it might be called notice of non-discrimination. Full disclosure, when I first started doing this job, I found that I was spelling non-discrimination incorrectly a lot, so I fixed that. Okay, so what we're going to look for is each institution is required to display a non-discrimination notice. This is called the continuous non-discrimination notice. Sometimes this is found at the bottom of the web page as a footer, and it might be in small print, it might be in gray print, it might be dark, but it must be there somewhere. It also might be in a separate page, maybe in a page of legal notices or disclosures or discrimination statements or something like that. If it is not at the footer of the home page, you might keep a mental note of how many clicks or how many different pages it takes to get to the notice. By the way, these last bullets that I'm going through are basically just allowing me some time to give you time to look over those notices. I might add, if finding that non-discrimination notice was a challenge, that means it might be a challenge for students, for parents, for employees, or for the general public. And it's an important notice, and we'll talk about what those, the purpose of that notice is to basically say, look, we don't discriminate among these different criteria. If you do find a notice, I invite you to look for some keywords, and those keywords are the college does not discriminate on the basis of race, color, national origin, sex, or disability. It also must identify a Title IX coordinator by either name or a title. It must have an office address, a phone number, and an email address. Sometimes that email address might go to HR at whatever college, or it might go to Title IX at whatever college, but it also might go to a direct person. Some of you may recall a photograph. So one of the things that it might have is a veteran status, or they might change a different word. They might use the word gender instead of sex. They also might add equal opportunity language to that. But as long as it has those basic terminology, that's what I'm looking for. In February, I shared a photo of a public toilet stall with 2 ADA or Americans with Disabilities Act violations. The photo showed a reach range violation and a grab bar violation. These are very common accessibility violations, but for the purposes of this presentation, I didn't think we needed to see another picture of a toilet during a TEA meeting. Another common accessibility violation is the lack of appropriate signs for accessible parking. There is a calculation that colleges should know about for the number of accessible parking stalls that each lot must have. But every parking lot must have the following. It must have at least one van accessible space. It must have a space that where the space plus the adjacent aisle must be at least 16 feet wide. And the sign must also have the words van accessible on it. And the base of that sign must be at least 60 inches from the ground. This may seem pretty simple, but I will tell you that I see so many parking areas that miss this specific target. So I would like to conclude this presentation with the technical assistance that I offer to the institutions. One of them is a free presentation as a pre-conference session to the workforce conference in Salina that's occurring next week on October 1st from 8:15 a.m. to 11:15 a.m. I call that presentation What Right Looks Like. And I go over the process and the many of the requirements of the MOA program. If you are attending the workforce conference, I would invite you to pop in on that pre-conference if you are interested. We also offer targeted technical assistance for any of those institutions that are selected for review and other technical assistance requested by the institutions. I might also add that if you still cannot find the non-discrimination notice for the college that you're looking, you might let me know offline, because that might necessitate some targeted technical assistance for them. I might also add a personal note that this is very rewarding work for me. I get to see campuses and how they adapt and change to become more accessible for their students and for their staff. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
All right, any questions, comments for Tobe? Well, thank you, Tobe. So if not, we'll just continue on with Tobe, and you're going to provide us with an update of last school year's Perkins Reserve grants.
Yes, Vice President Henry mentioned it, and there were several other mentions toward this specific grant opportunity. So as you might read in the background and the summary, there is a certain set aside that we have for the Perkins Reserve, and this is for some of those larger items or for specific areas of concern that the state has. When we talk about core indicators for our data that we provide the feds to provide to Octave, the closest area that our state might miss in that calculation is what we call 3P1, or the non-traditional concentration of students that are seeking non-traditional gender occupations. So when we say that, we think of the female welder or a male nurse or a female auto technician. So that is the percentage that we are closest at not getting. We are still doing fine as a state, but we have recognized that this is an area that we need to spend some special attention to. And also the areas of special populations that are listed in the summary of your issue paper. You see a list of the different special populations that we have and protected groups. These are all individuals that are at risk of not completing their education before they even step foot on campus. So we for several years have placed special emphasis in funding projects to mitigate some of these barriers or to eliminate some of these barriers. And this project specifically was aimed at purchasing classroom sets of tools, equipment, and resources. And several of these colleges really stepped up and did some great work. All of these areas have been identified in their comprehensive local needs assessments, and they also include these gaps in their what we call the 4-year application or the 4-year plan for the Perkins funding. So in FY24, you see a list of the institutions that did receive funding through this Perkins Reserve grant, and you can see the list of the total funding that they received. Below that, you can see a list of the different programs at these institutions that were aided by these funds. And many of these are those high demand, in demand careers, high wage. Many of these are also on our state alignment. And below that, you will see the results. So I created just a short summary for each of these institutions and how they were able to either bring in very important or up-to-date industry standard technology to their students without having to raise fees for those students, or finding ways to directly reduce the fees that a student would have to pay out of pocket. And you can see some of those instances are with Barton, an estimated $83 per student for 10 years. Johnson County, a reduction in cost of $75 to $350 per student. And those were the basic kits for some of their allied health programs. With Fort Hays Tech, they were able to purchase actual toolkits for their automotive technology. Basically, they're able to provide boxes of the same toolkits and toolboxes that a student would normally have to show up with. If there's a student that maybe is an economic disadvantage that cannot pay for that toolkit and is waiting for financial aid to help pay for that, or maybe waiting on their Pell Grant to come in, this enables those students to actually participate fully without having a toolkit of their own. And that was also part of the project with Fort Hays Tech North Central. We have Seward County had also were able to purchase some industry standard equipment. There's just some great things that were happening there. Washburn University They were able to purchase stethoscopes for the respiratory care students. Again, we just checked them out. That's something that the students didn't have to bring to those classes. And then WSU Tech upgraded an existing hybrid flexible learning space, or HiFlex space. This was kind of interesting because the way I understand it, and someone else could, from WSU Tech may be able to speak more intelligently about this, but as I understand it, if a student is normally attending a course in person, and for some reason they can't be there that day, they are able to attend that course at their home or at another location. For instance, if someone didn't get childcare that day and they have to stay at home and take care of their child, this gives them an opportunity to, again, participate in those courses. Does anyone have any questions?
Okay, any questions, comments? All right, Tobe, thank you. Appreciate the information. Okay, we're going to move on and call on Director Sharman Chambers, provide us with a review of this year's Excel and CTE fee data collections. So Sharman, you're up.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. The data collection for Excel and CTE fees is currently open. It opened on September 16th and it's open until Halloween. We sent an invitation to the business officers for the technical and community colleges on September 5th and again on the 23rd, inviting them to the webinar that we had on the 24th. Additionally, we sent it out again on the 24th, and we added chief academic officers, business officers, and all the presidents, as well as the KEDS users. We had 88 participants, and all but 2 institutions were participating and in attendance. So I followed up with them directly to share the PowerPoint, and the recording PowerPoint and FAQ is already posted as well on KEDS, as well as the PowerPoint was emailed to the entire distribution list. We have 1 institution that's already making updates, and Associate Director Roberts has already taken care of those. So we are well on our way. And I would stand for questions.
Any questions? Comments? Well, I appreciate you extending the opportunity for the institutions, and I think that's very important in the process, that they know you're here to serve and to help in this effort. So, okay. Just a reminder, our next meeting is a in-person meeting at KBOR offices, October 31st, 2024. And I'll just say, especially for Mike Bean's benefit, Halloween costumes are an option. So please note that we'll be meeting on Halloween for our October meeting. So any other business that needs to come to the table? If not, thank you to all. And we appreciate the time and the effort you put in to serve. And we are adjourned.
Thanks, Ray. Bye, everyone.